We find ourselves in an absolute dire situation. Undershielded Gyarados versus the world. Step 1, make the catch back onto Alolan Sandslash, giving ourselves a slim but fighting chance. Gyarados re-enters the arena, gonna overfarm as much as I physically can before firing off the Aqua Tail, removing Fortress from the field of play. Does the opponent send back out Morpeko, or do they reveal their third? Back out comes Morpeko. Gyarados waits no time, and there's knockout number 2. Can Gyarados pull off the sweep? Out comes Marowak, and this suddenly looks very, very winnable. Gyarados going to release the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail, isn't quite enough to knock out. There's only a double resisted Bone Club, but is it enough? 2 knockouts? Well, you're going to have to watch the video to find out. So welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone had a fantastic Go Battle weekend. Believe it or not, your semi-retired battler over here, Jamie Finn Pogo, aka the most washed up battler in the world, for the first time in a very long time, completed all 200 battles. I ran 8 different triple shadow teams, 3 of which went well, and 5 of them, let's just not talk about it. I got very, very clapped. However, we did gain over 400,000 Stardust on the weekend, as well as a whole bucket load of charged TMs. Out of the 3 teams that went well, I posted a poll earlier on YouTube and asked you guys which video you'd like to see him upload first. This team on the left-hand side was the team with the most votes, so here we are. Let me start off by saying this team is certainly only for the brave. If you like boring, basic, bulky teams, this one's probably not for you. The best way to describe both Alolan Sandslash and Gyarados is high risk, high reward. I think they're both fantastic anti-meta Pokemon, but they do have some very polarizing matchups. Firstly, Sonic the Hedgehog is double weak to both fire and fighting, and both them threats are fairly common in the meta. Secondly, Gyarados is absolutely paper thin. It's not only double weak to electric, but also absolutely atrocious into some of them very toxic Pokemon, stuff like Bastiodon and Carbink. Another thing that this team struggles with is the lack of bulk. Both Feraligatr and Gyarados are very, very shield hungry, as they cannot tank a hit to save their life. However, despite some of these drawbacks, this team went fantastically, gaining around 150 elo in around 5 or 6 sets. The team and strategy is fairly simple. We've got the backline to try and cover Sandslash's weaknesses. Double Water, of course, covers the fire type weakness. The most common fighter in the meta is going to be Annihilate. Gyarados firstly resists counter, and secondly, Feraligatr running Shadow Claw hits it back in turn for super effective. With all that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we see a battle of steel types as Sonic the Hedgehog stares down the annoying Steel Snake. I'd probably say Sandslash is favoured, due to having the ability to outpace the Duron that will be super effective. Steelix, of course, can run Earthquake that would easily pick up a one-hit KO, but it's 11 Thunder Fangs to the Earthquake. The opponent's only thrown 10, so at worst, this is only a crunch. They actually go for the Psychic Fangs bait. Sandslash shrugs off the damage, reach another Drill Run. Would you look at that? An opponent willing to 2-shield in the lead and attempt to RPS my backline. I recognise I'm going to get farmed down and I'm forced to pivot out into Feraligatr. I kind of anticipated the opponent making a catch, however they do not, and finally the annoying Steel Snake is removed from the field of play. Out comes Fero. Fero looks for the peck farm, now the opponent recognise they're not going to get it, and finally do make a catch onto Latios. Whilst the catch is very nice, trainer, this is G to the G and very much not in your favour. Gyarados going to enter the arena with a magical 2-0 shield advantage. I'm going to shield up the Aura Spear bait, safe in the knowledge that no bait is ever saving this opponent's fate. They recognise they cannot win the game and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, Togekiss in the lead position. This actually isn't a bad matchup for the opponent, believe it or not. They win the 1s and 2s due to Aura Spear being double super effective and cleanly knocking out. The opponent pivots into Furry. I go for some chipping action and then send out Gyarados. Whilst Drillron does do more than Ice Punch, despite not getting same type attack bonus, I think I definitely could have chipped with just a single Ice Punch. The Drillron was a bit unnecessary and a bit of a waste of energy on my part. Undeterred, we short the mid-game matchup. Gyarados leaves low. We're in a perfect health range, to be honest. We're going to be able to reach an Aqua Tail at the return in Togekiss and not concede too much farm either. Gyarados fires off the Aqua Tail, doing the majority of Togekiss's remaining HP. I send back out Sandslash. I anticipated the opponent firing off the Aura Spear before revealing their third, and I think the opponent's made a huge mistake by not going for that play. As I send out Cradily. In the 2-shield matchup, they are going to be absolutely atrocious into Sandslash. I'm not even in Rock Tomb range either, and I'm not getting Bullet Seed farm down anytime soon. Sandslash, undeterred, going to fire off yet another Ice Punch. The opponent here is going to be forced to throw as the next Bullet Seed isn't going to knock out. The opponent looks for the Bullet Seed farm down, unable to get it. Sandslash fires off the Ice Punch, moving Cradily from the field of player. Pivot into Feraligatr, Angry Alligator, Shadow Claw farm down, and we're able to take that game. In the next battle, you Drift Blim in the lead position. A fantastic lead, but a very problematic save switch. I bank some energy, pivot into Feraligatr, making the catch of the Hydro Cannon, and sneaking that Shadow Claw is very, very important. So we're going to be able to outpace this Blastoise. Well, not outpace, we're going to reach 2 Hydro Cannons. They're going to reach 2 as well, but this next Hydro Cannon isn't going to be lethal, so the opponent's going to have a decision to make. If they want to take back switch, they're going to be forced to shield up a resisted move. Let's see if the opponent wants to go for that play. They do not. We're able to shore up the mid-game matchup and leave minimal farm for the returning Balloon. The Balloon only gets off 1 Astonish. I send back out Sandslash. The opponent tries to catch an Ice Punch onto Azumarill, but all they catch is the Drill Run to the face. Nice to bait Azumarill out, to be honest, as Gyarados is absolutely awful into Azumarill. The Dragon Breath's non-stab, double resisted, Aqua Tail, resisted due to the Water typing, and Crunch, resisted due to the Fairy subtyping. Speaking of resisted, we should fully wall the most common moveset on Azumarill, which is going to be Ice Beam and Play Rough, but despite this, I've got 2 shields and I am going to start investing them. I shield up the Play Rough, return fire with the Drill Run, and they're going to bank some energy and then eventually make the pivot into Gyarados. Azumarill's so low that Gyarados can have no problem dealing with this threat. We're going to shield up the Ice Beam, over farm, fire off the Aqua Tail, and at this point the opponent's got a decision to make. Are they going to go all in on this low health Azumarill or trust in Drift Blim? The opponent trusting in Drift Blim. But this Balloon just not going to have enough in their tank. Gyarados going to go for the kill shot, firing off the Crunch, either forcing the Protect Shield or picking up a big fat one-hit KO. The opponent invests the Protect Shield. Gyarados lightning fast, reaches the next Crunch, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's for that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Scizor in the lead position. If you're on Shadow Claw, you cannot just stay in. But as I'm running Powder Snow, we are going to make the pivot into Feraligatr, aka the Angry Alligator. To be an Angry Alligator, of course you've got to be the Shadow variant, not that boring basic Feraligatr that people are using, because, oh, it tanks more hits, it's more survival. Who's got time for that shit? Ironically, if I had the regular variant there, I might have actually survived the boosted bullet punches, but it is whatever. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I send out Gyarados. Look at these resisted bullet punches. Are you kidding me? We lose almost half our HP. Despite Scizor completely running through my team, the opponent sends out Gastro into Gyarados, which of course is by no means a good response. I'm going to fire off back-to-back Aqua Tails, the opponent now receiving the energy for the Body Slam. Rather than lose Gyarados, we're going to make the pivot into Sandslash. Sandslash tanks the Body Slam. Of course it's double ground, but as we snuck a Powder Snow, we are going to be able to outpace to the Ice Punch. They should be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Unfortunately, the opponent's going to get a massive Mud Slap farm down. I think my only win con is calling the bait. However, do we even survive a double resisted Bone Club from here? The opponent is doubled up. We just about survive. We don't get DRE, and that one does end in heartbreaking defeat. To be honest, I probably lost to the boost, but it's whatever at this point. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Morpeko in the lead position. I hear you asking, how do you beat Morpeko? Excellent question, well presented. When I figure it out, I'll get back to you. Shadow Alolan Sandslash, being the bulkiest member of the team, is actually bulky enough to survive an Aura Wheel. Not well, but well enough to force a shield advantage in the opening matchup. I'm just getting farmed down, so I may as well pivot out into Feraligatr that also has an atrocious matchup. Things are starting to go from bad to worse as the opponent fire off the Psychic Fangs and we're now debuffed. Feraligatr gonna fire off the Hydro Cannon Trainer. Please let it go. Of course they shield. This is looking like a Morpeko sweep. I'm kind of obliged to shield this up as Gyarados, of course, double weak to electric and not going to fancy these boosted Thunder Shocks. The opponent saves Morpeko, pivot out into Fortress that, of course, has access to Rock Tomb, giving Gyarados nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. We find ourselves in an absolutely dire situation. Gyarados enters the arena, going to farm up, make the catch back onto Alolan Sandslash, giving us a slim but fighting chance. Gyarados needs to pull off the impossible. Gyarados re-enters the arena, going to overfarm as much as I physically can and fire off the Aqua Tail, removing Fortress from the field of play. Does the opponent send back up Morpeko, or do they reveal their third? Morpeko re-enters the arena. I waste no time. Fire off the Aqua Tail. Gyarados claims its second victim, and out comes Marowak. This suddenly looks winnable. Gyarados going to farm up, fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail actually isn't lethal. The question now becomes, is Gyarados in double resisted Bone Club range? No, we're not. Who was worried? Clearly I was. I thought I was going to get sweat, but somehow able to take that game. Oof, that was sweaty. In the next battle, we see Ferret in the lead position. Ferret's got access to not only Dig, but also Brick Break. But more commonly, you're going to see Trailblaze and Swift. So I've got no intention of shielding whatever they throw. The opponent farms up far too much energy, play to the CMP till they do not win, and we're able to force a Protect Shield here in the opening matchup. If the opponent's running Brick Break or Dig, so be it. It's just a Trailblaze that does boost up their attack. The opponent doesn't commit to the Sucker Punch farm down. This is like best case scenario. Gyarados should be able to Dragon Breath farm down before the boosted Swifts reached. Well, that would be if the game worked as intended. But of course the opponent gets DRE, because why bloody not? Out comes the annoying Marshmallow Wigglytuff. And once again, things are starting to look dire. We really need to get the Protect Shield. We're able to force the Protect Shield with the first Aqua Tail, reach one further Aqua Tail, putting them into Hydro Cannon range. Feraligatr would take massive damage from a potential Swift, but this opponent's running Wigglytuff, so they're clearly a brain-dead degenerate. We're going to call the Icy Wind the easiest bait call in my GBL career. Feraligatr then going to overfarm, fire off the Hydro Cannon, even at -1, removing this stupid Marshmallow from the field of play. Out comes Corviknight, and this is game over. I've still got a shield to hide behind. We're going to be able to outpace the back-to-back Hydro Cannons. If at -1, the second doesn't look like it'll knock out, I just reset the debuff and win CMP in the end game. But Feraligatr, the angry alligator, far too oppressive, hits far too hard, no reset or debuff clearing required, and we're able to take that game. Much to my opponent's disappointment, who rage quit the app, but GG's regardless. Heading into the next battle, we see Goodra in the lead position. It's kind of interesting the opponent's opting to stay in. I was anticipating the opponent going for a catch, but they remain on my screen. So at this point, you can't exactly pause with a one-turn move. So I'm kind of just need to throw. We throw here. The opponent doesn't make a catch. They still stay in. This next Aqua Tail is still survivable. I'm going to under-tap the next Ice Punch, because we're not going to survive all that well. With that in mind, the opponent does make a catch on the second one, but catch onto Carbink. And that is fantastic for me, as Gyarados now gets to avoid this threat. In case you haven't noticed to this point in the video, I've seen so many people saying that the regular Feraligatr is better. But do you know what the Shadow can do that the regular can't? From that range, land one single Hydro Cannon and get the world's nastiest farm down, leaving with residual energy good to go. Of course, some people would say I'm biased, but it really is a trade-off. Yes, you've got more bulk on the regular, but I personally love the oppressive nature of this Shadow Alligator. Feraligatr fires off the Hydro Cannon at the returning Goodra, fires off one further Hydro Cannon onto Corviknight. I go for a catch. Super unnecessary. The opponent is here, going to full send a payback, recognises simply not going to cut it, and that is yet another top left. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we need Alolan Sandslash into Cradily. Regardless of the moveset, a very, very nice lead. This opponent opting for Acid that is actually double resisted. We fire off the Ice Punch. Rather than throwing CMP, I did throw one before, just try not to be too predictable when I throw. However, I remember this battle. Again, I'm going to try and throw at a really random timing, but the opponent still make a catch. Oof, I guess there. I should have been more disciplined and actually paused, but it's kind of whatever. I think there's another matchup where you cannot sleep on the Shadow Feraligatr. The Shadow bonus here means these Shadow Claws just chunk through Azumarill's usually never-ending HP. I messed the protection, the opponent full send a bloody Hydro Pump, so clearly it's the Hydro Pump Ice Beam variant. We're going to be able to Shadow Claw him into a range where a Hydro Cannon will knock him out, and if the opponent doesn't shield this, we're actually going to leave almost full health with residual energy good to go. Back out comes Cradily. I don't often bait, but there's method in the madness, because the opponent call the bait. I'm going to spam that switch, tap, 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 and get Snipe Trainer. Get that Cradily off my screen. Out comes Marowak. And this is game over. That Mud Slap's going to knock me out. They're going to be 2 Mud Slaps off their Bone Club. We're only 3 Shadow Claws off. Feraligatr has the higher attack. Going to win charge attack priority. And Gyarados is going to get a well-deserved rest on the bench. GG's. And thanks for playing. This really is such a fun team. Yes, it's glassy, but man, it makes battles just fly by. In the next battle, we see Marowak in the lead position. I'm going to say no thank you, say switch into Feraligatr. As the opponent stays in, you can spam that Hydro Cannon instantly. It will be good time, and the switch takes a turn. Despite them being a ground type, and me being a water type, this is actually a decent matchup for the opponent, as long as they're willing to invest Protect Shields. I actually want to force the opponent all shields down. The opponent can shield this up, fully Mud Slap farm me down, but Gyarados with a shield advantage is usually pretty good, as long as they ain't got something like bloody Carbink. The opponent sends out Primeape, and there's a prime opportunity for Gyarados to come in and look to overfarm. Despite us being hella glassy, a non-boosted Rage Fist is survivable, but it still does quite a lot to be honest. I'm going to overfarm, fire off that Aqua Tail, removing Primeape from the field of play. If Marowak returns, they're going to have to full send a Rock Slide. I've already seen that a double resisted Bone Club only does around 15-20%. For being honest, it smells like a Bone Club. Oh crap, that's a Rock Slide to the face, and this game suddenly got complicated. Here the opponent actually wait a turn, make the catch onto Diggersby. What's important to note is the opponent didn't bank a charge move, they're one Mud Slap off, and now Sandslash smelling blood in the water with a clear path to victory. Shieldless Fire Punch, 5 Powder Snows, and the Ice Punch, throwing on CMP, winning CMP. This will be removing the Big Fat Bunny from the field of play with Doubled Up and Marowak very quickly about to meet the same fate with Sandslash sweeping the back line. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle is Diggersby in the lead position. Most people that run Alolan Sandslash would love this in the league because they've probably got 2 very bulky Pokemon in the back. However, I personally don't really like having to go down a shield so early in the matchup. The opponent aggressively sends out Annihilate. I switch kind of slow and take 2 counters, which is pretty piss poor on my part, but regardless, we switch just about quick enough to either take back switch or force both Protect Shields here in the mid-game matchup. As the opponent shielded the first Aquitail, it's very apparent the opponent's just going to 2-shield the Angry Ape. That kind of works for me, as we're now, rather than being at shield disadvantage, we've actually got shield advantage instead. However, I haven't really got a great way of getting rid of this Annihilate. They're already 1 stage boosted. We send out Feraligatr. They're going to fire off the boosted Rage Fist. I don't really fancy losing all of Feraligatr's HP, so we go for the combo play. Fire off the Ice Punch. That one singular double boosted counter did like 1/3 of my health. Holy man. Much to my surprise, the opponent sends back out Diggersby. When I played this battle, I was thinking, what's in the bag? Ice Punch gets the opponent low, but they're not really in Shadow Claw farm down range. I send out Feraligatr. The opponent tries to make a catch off the Hydro Cannon. I look to overfarm. Out comes Florges. Feraligatr grinning away. Gonna unleash the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon lands for massive damage. Of course, there's a Chilling Water, but unfortunately, no bait. Will be saving my opponent's fate. Feraligatr gonna invest the Protect Shield, farm up to the double Hydro Cannon. 1 Hydro Cannon knocks out Florges. 1 Hydro Cannon knocks out the Big Fat Bunny. And Feraligatr once again on cleanup duty. GG's to that opponent. Triple Shadows making battles fly by. In the next battle, 1 Powder Snow, and I shout, Feraligatr, go quickly! The opponent stays in, so we're able to fire off the Hydro Cannon, which will be forcing the first protection of the game. Even after throwing 1 Powder Snow, Feraligatr is always able to outpace Talonflame, as we're straight 10 turns to the move, whereas they are 15-10-10. Despite having the pacing advantage, of course, the opponent has the option to pivot out. So I think in hindsight, a pretty poor shield invested on my part, as the opponent is never ever staying in that matchup. They send out Ferret, we're able to land the Hydro Cannon on CMP, doing a very large chunk of the health. In an ideal world, I want to fully Powder Snow farm this thing down and hopefully keep out of 1 Incinerate range. Unfortunately for me, it becomes apparent that probably isn't going to be the case. We aggressively send out Gyarados and out comes Dusclops. Gyarados needs to do the heavy lifting. I go straight for the crunch. Hope the opponent's willing to tank the first move, but unfortunately they are not. I'm kind of running out of ideas at this point. Shadow Punch just does far too much damage. We are going to reach the departing crunch, but that Hex will be knocking me out, and Sandslash just isn't going to have enough in the tank to 1v3. I've still got a shield to hide behind. Whatever Talonflame throws, a likely a Flame Charge would do more. Talonflame re-enters the arena. I see it coming in, firing off the Ice Punch, but Ice Punch are going to do nowhere near enough damage, and that one does end in heartbreaking defeat. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we are looking to bounce back, and we're off to a good start. We lead Sandslash into Florges. The opponent pivots out into Dugong. I'm going to fire off the Drill Run, force some chip damage before making the pivot into Feraligatr. After that chip damage, I'm always going to be able to maintain alignment. And to be honest, I kind of need alignment, as I don't really want Gyarados running non-stab Dragon Breath into a Fairy type. We're going to fire off the Hydro Cannon, which won't be lethal, but will enable a Shadow Claw farm down afterwards. Drill Run wouldn't quite be lethal, but potentially Dead Eye Shard farm me down before we Shadow Claw farm them down. So I do invest the Protect Shield. The opponent aggressively send back out Florges. We fire off the Hydro Cannon, force a Protect Shield. Switch timers were misaligned, but mine just about pops up. We're able to make the catch back onto Sonic the Hedgehog. The opponent actually went straight Trailblaze, which is best case scenario, as that is resisted by Sandslash. Despite them boosting their attack, double Chilling Water would do more than a Trailblaze into Chilling Water, or at least I think so anyway. The opponent once again aggressively send out Fortress, and at this point I'm like, nope, I don't want the smoke, you've got me buddy, and we're going to take back-to-back defeats, heading into the next battle. We're off to a good start as we lead into Cradily, the opponent's save switch into Corviknight. I'm going to chip with an Ice Punch before sending out Gyarados. After landing the Ice Punch, hopefully in a range where one single move from Gyarados knocks out. That looks to be the case, to be honest. Gyarados hits insanely hard, but I'm not entirely confident Aquatail will be lethal, so I'm actually going to full send a Crunch. Because sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry. We full send the Crunch. Crunch does remove Corviknight from the field of play. Out comes Cradily, Gyarados, still not done. Gonna fire off the Aquatail, and Aquatail certainly puts him in range when Ice Punch will knock him out. Switch timers are slightly misaligned, so I'm going to wait out my timer. I send back out Sandslash. The opponent stay in, looking to chip me with a Rock Tomb, but Rock Tomb doesn't mirror a shield. The opponent then pivots out into Dusknoir, and here comes Feraligatr. The opponent throws on alignment. As they're throwing alignment, I think I can just double shield, fully farm down, and then just outpace that Cradily to multiple charge moves. The opponent going to reach one further Shadow Punch, but Dusknoir isn't going to get off any more energy. We're able to fully farm down, leaving a double up on Hydro Cannons, and the opponent is certainly in Hydro Cannon range. The opponent still with 2 shields. There's the first one gone. The second Hydro Cannon's already queued up. The opponent obliged to put up that Protect Shield. Switch timers up, quick switch into Sandslash, giving the opponent that cheeky wham, bam, combo play, serving up the Big Mac, and the fries didn't order, and we're back to winning ways. Heading into the next battle. The return of the Sizzle lead. Hopefully this opponent doesn't boost straight away. The opponent going to fire off the Night Slash. Night Slash leaves a dent, and then out comes Jellicent. Unfortunately, we don't have Crunch, but even the combination of Shadow Claws and resisted Hydro Cannons do really add up over time. The opponent tanks the first, the second one's queued up, getting the opponent low, and Trainer, you need to throw. The opponent doesn't throw, and it ends up in a simultaneous KO, which is like best case scenario. We now find ourselves in the guessing game. I send out Gyarados. Sizzle re-enters the arena. Gyarados able to outpace by a single turn to the Aquatail, and Aquatail forces the first Protect Shield of the game. Out comes Clodsire. Here I think I should go straight Sandslash. Actually attempt to catch a Sludge Bomb, banking all the energy in the process. Catch attempt unsuccessful. We then end up shielding the Stone Edge bait. We should still be alright here as Gyarados has all the energy in the world. We're going to fire off the Ice Punch. Ice Punch does crazy damage. We can just shield and farm down. We're going to be forcing that Sizzle's energy, and we've got like 2 charges on Gyarados. There's literally nothing the opponent can do. The opponent has a charge move. They're not going to throw it, recognising there's too much energy here, there, and every bloody where, and we're able to take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see another Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death in the lead position. We're going to do the same as we did last time. One Powder Snow, transferring the Incinerator onto Feraligatr, and this time our Feraligatr save switch is not hard punish whatsoever. I think the opponent, to be honest, has actually switched into a losing matchup. One other important thing to note is this Talonflame to the Shadow. The last one was the regular, and the Ice Punch still did like 60%. I actually forced both Protect Shields in the mid-game matchup, and I'm more than content with that scenario. Shadow Punch moves me from the field of play, and I'm going to send out Sandslash and look to overfarm as much energy as I physically can. The counts of this Dusclops are 3 then 2 to the Shadow Punch. I'm not going to get caught out. I'm going to throw 3 Powder Snows and the Ice Punch on CMP, winning CMP. Rather than throw 1, I'm just instantly getting out to Gyarados and looking to start farming up energy. The opponent pivots out into Gastrodon, and at this point questions really need to be asked. Trainer, you've got 100 battles to play. This one is only ending defeat. Why are you wasting my bloody time and your own? I guess the opponent's hoping to have a heart attack, but the world's a pretty rough place, and I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. So if the opponent is wishing that on me, I'm sorry to tell you I'm still alive and well. Gyarados fires off the Aquatail. I go for the world's most pointless catch. They waste my time, I guess. I'm going to waste theirs. And the weird turn of events, Sandslash is a Talonflame counter confirmed. You heard it here first. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow Malamar in the lead position. A very, very cool pick. And they really need to fix that bloody Psywave animation. It is so bright. I fire off the Ice Punch. This is likely the foul play bait, but I am going to be respecting it. As I'm kind of on an ABB team, I'm going to bank an Ice Punch. We're able to snipe him down with a Shadow Claw and get a 1 Shadow Claw running start. The opponent is on Bullet Seed. I think I should throw the Ice Beam, but the thought process is if they Rock Tomb me, we're going to get off another Hydro Cannon, as Rock Tomb won't get the job done. This opponent actually full send a Grass Knot, but that more than works for me, as they're not going to get any additional energy. As that mid-game matchup was so quick, my switch timer isn't up, so I'm forced to throw the Ice Punch. But throwing this Ice Punch into Gastrodon isn't too bad, as it does put him into Aquatail range. Gyarados can easily tank a Body Slam. I'm then going to farm up Throw the Aqua Tail as late as I physically can, making sure I've got residual energy good to go. Gyarados fires off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail, to my surprise, forces the Protect Shield. The opponent looks to force more, and I'm more than happy to oblige. The opponent then going to pivot out into Cradily. I'm hoping my switch timer's up. Aqua Tail hopefully stalls the timer long enough to save Gyarados, make the catch back onto Sandslash, which we're able to do. As I'm not the Shadow Cradily, this Rock Tomb won't be lethal, and we've got an Aqua Tail bank, so that essentially is going to be all she wrote. Ice Punch removes Cradily from the field of play. Bastiodon is going to Mud Slap farm down that energy drive. We've got the Aqua Tail locked and loaded, and Gyarados is going to clean up. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle. Alolan Sandslash into Shadow Charizard. We stay in, look to check the quick move. If it's on Dragon Breath, it's not actually a bad matchup. We save switch into Feraligatr, baiting out Chestnut. So far, it looks like RPS and very much not in my favour. When you lose lead and you're hard punished on the switch, what you need to do is try and gain an advantage in the mid-game matchup, and Feraligatr has certainly got that for us. We not only force a shield with the Ice Beam, we land the Hydro Cannon on the CMP side, doing the majority of the HP. I could one shield and Powder Snow farm down, but instead what I'm actually going to do is save all the shields for Gyarados, get an energy lead, and pray with a 2-to-1 shield advantage we can sweep the back line. The opponent sends out Primeape, and things are starting to look good for me. The Shadow, so I'm going to shield the first Rage Fist, because I don't want to put myself in danger of getting fast move beat down. I overfarm, fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail will be moving Primeape from the field of play. Charizard might be quick, but Gyarados with residual energy is always winning the race to 2 charge moves. We shield up the Air Cutter. Gyarados fires off the first Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail will be forced to the opponent's final Protect Shield. Gyarados wins the race to the next Aqua Tail, and have no doubt Aqua Tail going to knock out that Charizard and probably every Charizard that's ever entered the Great League, and we take that game. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's video. I had like 5 sets recorded. My voice is already hurting, so that is going to be all. What can I say about this team? It is very glassy, but hella fun. If you don't want to be basic, boring, and you want something fun to run, I'd highly recommend this team. I was able to gain around 150 elo. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new. Consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. The link to our battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.